Excellent stuff. Thank you ever so much. Okay, very good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Chris and I'm one of the content and training specialists for Shortcut Software. So for this morning, we are going to be going through sort of essential management setup. Now, this is sort of aimed at, for those of you watching that want to know a little bit more about the back end side of things, and really just things that you would probably be expecting your management or the owners or more senior members of staff to do. We are going to be running next week our employee setup, but for this morning, we're going to be going through just sort of more back end things. Now, we won't cover absolutely everything back end because there's going to be a lot to go through, but I'm going to try and mix it up between sort of general configuration, top tips and tricks, just general things that's always worth just double checking, things that could have been forgotten over the weeks, months or years. We're going to look at a few things basic in the appointment book. Like I said, next week when we do employee setup, we'll cover more day-to-day top tips for your employees to be using. So this morning we won't go through like making appointments or anything like that. We're going to look at some KPIs. We're going to look at quite a few reports. The purpose really for this morning's masterclass is you'll notice a lot of things that we do kind of stepping stone or chain link or sort of snowball into other sort of aspects. We want to make sure that's sort of set up correctly. And then obviously moving towards Christmas and things like that, we want to make sure there's a few things that are all set up ready for that. So bear with us for this morning. There is going to be quite a lot to go through. As always, this one is going to be recorded. So if you do want to request the video afterwards, please just let me know. Usually gets uploaded to YouTube a couple of hours, maybe a day after. Okay. So if this is your first time joining me for the masterclass, a very big welcome to you and thank you for joining me. If you've been with me before, it's always great when I have my regulars. So thank you ever so much for spending your mornings and afternoons with me. But before we begin, the duration of this class is going to be approximately 60 minutes. As always, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. My microphone is switched on. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay, whereas everyone else has automatically been muted. But as always, I do say, if you do want to have a chat with me, feel free to. If you want to unmute yourself, feel free to. You should be able to. If not, just pop a little comment in the chat box and we'll get to you as soon as possible. And of course, then your speakers must be turned on to hear this webinar. And as always, questions will be taken throughout or at the end. Now, I do always keep an eye on the chat box throughout. Sometimes you may just hear me go quiet just while I answer one or two questions. I will always let you know if I'm doing that throughout. If it's a particularly fantastic question, we had one last week that was a really, really good question, I may just say it out loud because I think it may benefit the entire group. I nearly said class then, it's a bit like school. Will benefit the entire group or all of our attendees. So, as always, there is usually a very short or very small PowerPoint presentation before we get into the good stuff. But if you have joined me before, you will know I like to get right into the good fun stuff. I don't like to do too many PowerPoint presentations. I like to keep the flow going. So with that being said, for this morning, that is it for the PowerPoint presentation. We are going to jump straight into a live demonstration. And as I said, it is going to be quite an in-depth one, and I am going to try and get through as much as humanly possible. But if you do want to chat further, feel free to drop us an email at education@shortcuts.co.uk. You can give us a call on 0161 972 4900, and do always give us a little follow on Instagram and Facebook. So our handle for that is Shortcuts UK. So it's instagram.com/Shortcuts UK, facebook.com/Shortcuts UK, where you can see upcoming classes and top tips and tricks moving forward there. Excellent stuff. So that's it for the PowerPoint presentation for this morning, ladies and gents. We're going to jump straight into our live demonstration. So to do so, I am now going to open up my Shortcuts Fusion system. Okay, so we're just going to pop a pin in just there. Okay, so we're going to start off with something nice and simple that we should all be doing. Now, the majority of you, if not all of you, will have automated Shortcuts backups, but I do always say it is worth doing a backup at least once a day. And I would recommend doing this to an external device, maybe a memory stick or a hard drive. Now, the reason we do this is if anything does happen, the worst happen, we've got a really almost as up-to-date backup of your system as possible. Also as well, if you are going to make any major changes to your system, any background, any config changes, and we always recommend you do a little backup before you do so. So how do we do a backup? So all we do on the right hand side of our navigation bar is we're going to click onto Tools and we're going to click onto Backup. Perfect. So once the little backup windows appear, you'll notice it's going to be back up to a C drive. Now, of course, we wouldn't necessarily recommend backing up to a C drive or your computer, because if your computer does break, it will obviously be lost in that. So we'd always click onto the advanced option just here and then click onto browse, and then you would just select maybe your external hard drive, typically a D drive, an E drive, or an F drive. So you would just click onto that, choose the drive, and then just click backup now. And it will take a few moments just to go through that backup there. You don't have to rename it if you want to. It will just override as we move forward. So that would be the first thing we would look at doing if you are going to make any changes to your shortcut system. Just give it a little backup, and you can see there it's going to take 30 to 40 seconds. Some may be quicker, some may be slower. I'm just going to leave that running in the background, and I'm just going to minimize that there. We'll check on that in probably 30 seconds time, and you can see it's pretty much already done now by the time I finish speaking. Perfect. So we'll just leave that running in the background there. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to look at doing a backup just to ensure nothing happens to our system. But like we said, majority of you will have automated backups anyway. So moving forward, we're going to take a look at the general configuration of our system. So to the right hand side, we're going to click onto Setup, and we're going to click onto Configuration. Then over on the left hand side, we're not really going to make too many changes here. It's worth just having a little look, but we're not really going to make a great deal of these changes moving forward. But what we are going to do is on the left hand side, we're going to click onto the third option down for discounts. So why do we then add in discounts? Well, the reason is there's quite a few reasons actually. It could be for return on investments, or it could just be an automated way to take that money off the client's bill. But I always say it's great to have a paper trail. So if you are going to take money off the client's bill, this is the sort of the way we would do it. Now, of course, you could just take £5 off the client's bill or £10 off the client's bill. That would work perfectly fine. But we've got no way of knowing then why we gave money off the client's bill. So we would always use a discount reason. Now, if you click the drop down arrow just to the top here, you may notice there are a fair few already listed. Some of you will have more, some of you will have less. That's not a problem. To create a new one, all we do in the bottom right hand corner is we just click onto New. And we're going to pop the reason name in there. And I'm just going to call it Christmas 10%. Now, I do always recommend popping the monetary value to the right hand side. This may be because you've got two different tiers or two different variations of this. And of course, it does just make your life that little bit easier. So we're just going to click Done. Then to the top right, just here where it says Default No Discount, we need to link that 10% to it. So we basically need to cement that 10%. Now, when we click the drop down arrow, if it's a monetary value, you can choose fixed amount here, or you can choose one of the default percentages here. If the percentage you wish to use, such as 35%, isn't visible, you can add your own just here using the Add Default. You can type your own in just here. If not, once you've done that, you can just choose from the drop down arrow and just add it in as we go. You'll also notice we've got an option here that says discount can be applied to product, services and series, sundry and gift certificates. This is really determining what this discount is going to be used against. So I'm going to say this Christmas 10% can only be used on services and series. So I'm going to take the tick out either side, and that just cements it just there. Now underneath, you'll notice we've got a tick box that says default amount, i.e. 10%. The default amount, 10%, cannot be changed at point of sale. Well, that just again cements it further. So if it's a firm 10%, it cannot be changed from 10 to 15 or 20 or whatever it may be at the point of sale screen. Ticking this box will cement that in there. And then all we do is we click save and then click done. And we may just have to give a quick restart to our shortcut system. So that's the first thing we're going to be looking at. Now, later on, when we get to our reports, we will take a look at our discount reason report. So again, carry on with our configuration on the navigation bar, setup and configuration. On the bottom left-hand side, we're going to click on to general. And then towards the top left, we're going to click on to security. Now, security really determines what our staff can and can't see on our Shortcuts Fusion system. So it may be moving forward, you've just taken on new staff members and you really want to ensure they've got the correct level of access. You don't want them seeing too much, or you don't want them having not enough access. So on the left-hand side, when you look at this, you will typically have 3 security levels. This is not to be confused with your floor levels, such as stylist, senior stylist, graduate stylist, therapist, instructor, or anything like that. So you'll see we've got owner, manager, employee. Now I've added my own one in called stock. So that basically will have a little bit more or less access than another level. But by default, you'll have owner, manager, and employee. Now, it is worth at this stage, if you scroll down and you have anybody under the unassigned screen, that means you haven't assigned them a security level, which basically means if you've given them a PIN or anything like that, they will not be able to log on to the shortcut system. So they will need to be assigned a level. You can do this by clicking the 6 grey dots to the left-hand side to select that employee. And then we can click and drag using the left side of our mouse and pop them under the relevant level. So I'm going to pop them under stock. Actually, let's pop it under reception. It's there. It makes sense, doesn't it? Let's pop it under reception. And we can see I've now got them just there. So we've got our levels. What about if we want to create a new one? So maybe one that has higher access than employee, but less access than manager. Maybe assistant manager, for example. So to the top right, you'll notice we've got this option that says new. We can click onto this, and to the bottom left-hand side, we can just there. I'm going to call it Assistant Manager. Now to the top right, we need to configure the level of access because we know our levels. We've got stock, we've got reception, we've got Assistant Manager, like that. But we now need to configure the access. So towards the top of the screen here, we have this tab that says Access. So we're going to click onto that, and on the left-hand side, you will notice you have all of your levels just here. So I've just created this one here. Oh, I already had an assistant manager. I've abbreviated it, never mind. So I'm going to click onto my new level just here, assist.manager just here. Now, when we click onto it, you'll notice on the right-hand side, we've got all of the different items, and you can see we can give or restrict access just here. It is always worth just expanding the category by clicking the plus sign and just working through the specific level of access. Just to let you know, it's basically verbatim. So the way it is worded here is almost as it is in Shortcut System. So it will be almost identically worded there. So we can just add or remove the tick if applicable and just work your way through. Now, when you're happy with your changes, simply click done in the bottom right-hand corner. And again, we may just have to give a quick restart to our Shortcut System for those changes to take play. Or be put in place, I should say. Okay, so again, continuing with our setup and configuration, it's all back-end information. What I'm going to do is click on to setup and configuration again. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, click on to general. Now, one thing we are going to take just a very quick look at is data privacy. Now, this is just something very quick we're going to have a quick look at. Now, data privacy is all to do with your client's information. So what do we do with them and how do we store it and, and everything like that. Now, it is always worth just double checking. You have a data privacy officer email at the top. So why do we have this in here? So if any of your clients request any of their information, you will be sent an email. So it's always worth just having that information just at the top there. Then underneath, you can also double check remove non-returning clients, whether you want it to be after 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it may be. So if they don't return, in this case for 2 years, the client will be removed from your system. Now, underneath here, you've got your data privacy policy text. We would always just potentially recommend having a read through this, getting some assistance when reading through to ensure it's exactly how you want it to be. But if you do make any changes to the number of years just here, always ensure it mirrors the wording just here. So I'm just going to add that in there. 2 years. Just going to add that in there. So just make sure that is completely up to date just there. And then again, we're just going to click done, and you will probably get the same error message. Sorry, not error message. You will get the same information message just there. Do you wish to save changes? Yes. So that's our data privacy. Again, just something very quick, just in case you didn't have that data privacy officer email in there. And again, we're going to go back to setup and configuration, general in the bottom left-hand corner. And this time we are going to click onto clients. Now, what we want to do moving forward is ensure your client data is as up to date and as accurate as possible. So why do we do that? Well, not only does it give us a better understanding of our database, but it's also great for marketing. So we know our client demographics perfect if we want to do, targeted marketing. So again, it's always worth just double checking this information here. So along the top, you'll notice you'll have 4 tabs. And we're going to start with occupations. Now, a lot of you may have noticed when you make an appointment for a brand new client, there will be an option for them to fill out, certain client data, such as their occupations. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the drop down arrow and we can see all of the occupations here. Now, we do tend to keep this fairly generalized because, of course, once you start listing every single occupation, you've kind of got to list them all, where do you sort of draw the line? So we do try and keep this fairly broad, but if you do want to get some specific ones in there, maybe you're thinking about doing a blue light discount, something like that, it is always worth just getting those occupations in there. Along the top, we're going to click onto age groups, and it's worth just adding those in there as well. Now, referrals is a really good one. Maybe you do marketing, cloud-based marketing, maybe you do marketing plus, and you want to know your referral methods. You'll see we've got quite a few in here. Now, one we do always recommend you add in is things such as social media. We do a lot by social media nowadays, so it is always worth just having things like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and so forth. So if you do want to add those in, just simply the same as we've done before, click onto that new icon and just add that referral method in. And we're going to add TikTok on there. And we're just going to click done. You can always pop a description in there as well. But to the bottom right, just ensure we always click that save icon just there. Then last but not least, to the top right, we've got new client layout. And you'll notice we pretty much have 3 to 4 different columns. The first column here is the field. The field is the information or the box or the field that the client will fill out, such as title, first name, last name, mobile, and so forth. We then have 3 columns to the right-hand side: quick, detailed, and mandatory. And you'll notice as you go through, you can tick all of the boxes there for quick, detailed, mandatory, and so forth. So then, what is the quick function? Well, when we make an appointment, this here is the quick information that will be visible. So this is all of the information for the quick. So when we're making a brand new appointment for a brand new client, this is the quick information that will appear. And you'll notice you can also hit the drop down arrow to the right and change it to detailed or all. Typically, we always keep it on quick because, of course, we're going to make an appointment. So we want it to be nice and quick. So that's the information that will pull through there. So if you do wish to change it, we just tick the boxes just here where it says quick. Now, as we said, because this is the information we're going to take for a brand new client, we do want to keep it fairly quick. Now, one recommendation I would always recommend you have is the referral method, Now, of course, we've just looked at the referral methods just a few seconds ago. And of course, there is no better time to find out how a client found your business than when they are a brand new client. So if you've got that referral method in there, they will be able to choose another client if they were referred, which is great if you're doing a referral campaign, or they found you, of course, on TikTok, which was my example, Facebook, walking past, and so forth. The detailed information. Now, the detailed information is when we go right into the depths of the client card. And you can do this by searching for a client and simply clicking on client profiles. Here's my client James, clicking on client profile, and this is the detailed information just here. So you can fill out as much information as you wish when you've got time to later on. So that's the detailed information there. And mandatory, last but not least, is there any information that the client must fill out, such as email perhaps, such as last name or first name? Now, what you can do is you can make all of these mandatory here, first and last name and mobile. What you can also do is you can change the tick boxes just towards the bottom left-hand corner, where it says must have at least one name entered. Ticking that will basically grey shade everything out. It will remove the mandatory tick box, but we are saying here must have at least one name entered. And you can also tick this box just here that says must have at least one phone number entered. So you'll notice it grey shades out mobile, home phone and work phone, because that is basically saying at least one of those fields must be filled in, either mobile, home or work. And then last but not least, must have at least one contact method entered. So maybe you're finding clients aren't giving their phone number, but of course we do need to ensure we've got one contact method entered. So we can tick that, and you'll notice we've then got the phone number and the email grey shaded out, because that will then say we have to take at least one contact. Could be email, could be phone. I'm just going to make these back mandatory. And then once and for all, we click done and click done again. And of course, we may just have to give a quick restart to our shortcut system there. Okay, so again, continuing on our configuration, getting the back end side of shortcuts set up absolutely spot on. We're going to look at something now called schedule reasons. Now, the reason we look at schedule reasons is for lots of different things, but one of the main reasons is to ensure we can see exactly where our staff are. So it may be you have self-employed staff that often travel to different locations, and we need a way to block the appointment diary out. Now, we could just block them out as a day off or as a holiday or anything like that. But of course, that isn't going to be accurate when we look at our reports later on. Now, also as well, you may block your staff out when they're off sick. But again, great, that will stop clients booking in, but we won't be able to track that on a report. So on the lead up to Christmas, at the end of the year, we may want to track if our staff have had too much holiday, too many sick days. And this all derives from our schedule reasons. So again, setup and configuration. Bottom left-hand corner, we're going to click onto general, and we're just going to hit that drop down arrow and we're going to choose schedule just here. Now you'll notice we've got quite a few schedule reasons. These are all of the reasons you will choose when your staff are or aren't in the salon or the business. So if you do want to add any in, all we do is we just click new in the top right hand corner and we can choose the reason just here. So I'm going to add in maternity. To the right hand side, you can choose a color if you wish to. Choose a nice purple color. To the right, you can say whether it's active. Now, if you're using shortcuts to use commission structures or payables or wages or anything like that, just make sure you tick payable, whether they do or don't get paid for this. To the right-hand side, you can also tick this box if you allow bookings. Now, this really is if you allow online bookings. It will be all bookings, but of course, if you tick this, it will certainly allow online bookings. Naturally, it'll also allow you to make appointments, but of course, clients will be able to book online as well. Now, if you're thinking about creating like a college or a training one or anything like that, what I would recommend you do is don't allow bookings or walk-ins, but you in the salon will still be able to make appointments for their models and things like that. But of course, just bear in mind, if we tick these, clients will be able to book online. Allow walk-ins as if you're using the walk-in manager typically used by our barbershops. Okay, so just make sure we've got that all there, and then we just click done in the bottom right hand corner. And of course, we may just have to give a quick restart to our shortcut system. Excellent stuff. So we are now going to look at how to do a schedule. Now, some of you may be familiar with how to do schedules, but there is a top tip when it comes to adding schedules in for your shortcut system. And I'm going to show you one of our top tips. So to add in a schedule, we're just going to go to Tools, and we're going to go down to Schedule, the fourth option down just here. Now, again, it's always worth, before you do a schedule, to just do a quick backup. So remember, Tools and Backup. And also, when you do a schedule, please ensure if you've got any holidays booked in 6 months' time or 6 weeks' time, whatever it may be, just make a note of those if you are about to wipe over any schedules or anything like that. Once you've seen this top tip, you might think, oh, I'm going to do the schedule for the next 2 years or the next year, because I'm about to show you how to do a schedule for a long period of time. So how do we add a schedule in? Well, the first thing we can do along the top here is we can search for an employee. So you'll notice I've got all of my employees just here, but along the top here, we can search for my employee just there. I've got quite a few of me in there. Or you can search for somebody else as well if you need to. It just removes everybody off the book there. Just add down the left-hand side, we've got the days of the week. And you'll also notice as a quick visual indicator, it goes black, black, grey, and so forth. That is a visual indicator to let you know where one week ends and the next one begins, and so forth. So let's just go to today. We can see today's date is highlighted by this green icon just there. So we're going to put a schedule in. Now I'm going to put a schedule in that I want to copy for basically an entire year or an entire month to save you doing it one by one. So if the employee works a weekly roster, make sure you've got the 1 week in. If they do a 2 weekly roster, make sure you've got the 2 week roster in. So maybe they alternate their Saturdays or whatever it may be. So get that in first as your template. So I'm going to click onto here and I'm going to say 10 to 5 on a Sunday is a day off. Now you'll notice in the top right hand corner, we've got all of those schedule reasons. And of course, there's my maternity that we created together just a few moments ago. So I'm going to do day off and the color will appear. Monday is normal. Tuesday, I'm going to say I do 9 till 5 and I'm just going to click my start time just here and just use my arrow keys to select as applicable. And in the top right, we've got those schedule reasons there as well. And we're just going to work through. And we're going to pop that full week in. So there's the full week just there. I've gone from Sunday to Saturday. I've got my full week in. I'm going to schedule this for the next year, but you could do it for like the next 14 years if you wish to. So in the top left-hand corner, I'm going to choose the option that says Mark Cells. Each of these squares here are cells. So I'm going to choose Mark Cells. And the trick here, ladies and gents, is we always start with the Sunday in the employees column. Whether they are working or not, we always start from the Sunday. So we're going to click onto Sunday and we're going to go down to Saturday. You'll notice the entire week is highlighted. We're now going to right click and choose Schedule Until. From here, you can choose how far into the future you wish to go. So you can see, go quite a long way in there. Let's go a good couple of years. And then just choose any date or any month for it to finish on. So I'm going to finish it on October 31st, 2025. It will then tell you you've scheduled your entire schedule for the next couple of years. And if you haven't done a full 7-day period, some may just overlap. So we just click yes, and then unmark the cells in the top left-hand corner. And as we click and drag down, you can see that's been highlighted just there. So what about then if an employee maybe does a half day, which is perfectly fine. Maybe they've got the morning as holiday. Maybe they've got the afternoon as normal working. So I'm just going to say for today, we've got a half day. So exactly the same, we're going to click onto it. And we've got shift 1 of 1. So for the morning, I'm going to do 8:30 to 1 p.m. and I'm going to say it's holiday. I'm just going to literally input that here, 8:30 till 1. And in the top right, I'm going to change it to holiday. But now we need to do the afternoon, because from 1 till 6 or 1 till 5, I'm going to be a normal working day. So towards the bottom, I'm going to click New. And it will now say shift 2 of 2. 1. And again, till 5 p.m. And that is a normal working day. We then just click Done. And click Done in the bottom right-hand corner. And there we can see, just there, I've now got my holiday and the rest of my working day just there. Now, the reason we do that is not only it will ensure your clients can book at the relevant times, but also later on when we look at our reporting, we can see how much holiday this staff member has had. Now, a lot of people I do see when they want to mark people as a day off or sick or holiday, they schedule a task, and this is what this looks like. So we click into it and we choose schedule a task. And they do it just like this. Now, whilst that is very quick and easy to do, and obviously it does stop clients booking in, when we run a report later on, that will show Rachel has actually worked. And also, if you ever look at the roster analysis type, which we should have time to look at later on if we do get time. If not, we'll do it in our reportings masterclass in a couple of weeks' time. Now, because that is technically scheduling a task for work, when we look at the utilization for Rachel, how busy she was, it will say she was about 99% busy for today because she has been scheduled a task for the entire day, which we know isn't completely accurate, of course, because it is a day off. So that is why we always ensure we use those schedule reasons, just to ensure we are completely accurate. So that's how we can set up a schedule and schedule reason. So moving away from configuration, so to speak, but still setting up our shortcut system. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to Setup and we're going to go to Services. Now, towards the bottom right-hand corner here, we have this option that says RPTS Categ, Report Categories. So these are often overlooked, ladies and gents. So it's not a problem if it is, but do just take a few moments now just to sort of follow this with me if you can. RPTS Categ, what does that mean? It stands for Report Categories. So that means each of our services should be linked to a report category so we can see how well that service is doing. So the first thing we're going to look at is our report categories. And you'll notice we've got 10 there. Now you can only have 10 report categories, but you can have as many service categories as you like, but you can only have 10 report categories. So if, for example, you've got things maybe acrylic nails, gel nails, biosculpture, and you run out of report categories, you can then just consolidate other report categories. So maybe rather than having acrylics, biosculpture, gel and everything like that, you could just consolidate them all down to manicures and pedis or just nails and things like that. So if they're sort of from the same family, consolidate them together because they fall under the same report category. So you can see I've got all of my report categories there. So we've got styling, color, treats, extensions, facials, nails, and so forth. So just keep those in the back of your mind for me. Styling, color, treats, and so forth. Okay, so we're now going to look at our services. So all of our literal services should be linked to one of these report categories. Why? So we can see just how much money or how many services have been performed for that specific service. And it is also great for your marketing, which we're going to get to in a bit. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do a quick check on all of our services. Now, to do this, all you need to do is expand the relevant service category and select the service there. So we've got balayage. And remember, as I always say, it is all in the details. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the relevant service, and it's all in the details in the bottom left-hand corner. So we're going to click onto details, and we're going to double check just down here that the service is linked to a report category. We can see here are all of our report categories. Now, if this wasn't ticked here, or it wasn't ticked at all, we would have no way of knowing just how many balayages we have done or how much revenue was associated with it. Now, not a problem if you look at this now and you notice it's not ticked. The value will still show in the report, which we'll see later on. The value will still show, it just won't be assigned to any service. So the value will still be there, it just won't know what it was under. But as soon as you tick the box, it will then be able to calculate it. So all is not lost. So again, just to do that, expand the relevant service category, click the relevant service, and it's all in the details in the bottom left-hand corner here. And just double check it is ticked under the report category towards the bottom left-hand corner. Now, while we are here, ladies and gents, it is also worth checking this as well. If any of these services are bookable online and they require a skin test, we need a skin test patch test prompt to appear when a client books online. So what tells what tells the system which service requires a skin test when they book online? So in exactly the same way, we're going to click that service and we're going to go into the details in the bottom left-hand corner. And we've got this option towards the bottom left-hand corner that says Need Visit Details. It is the ticking of this box here that will bridge the gap to ensure when a client books online, it will come up with a patch test prompt. So we just need to ensure that that is ticked just here. And then we click Done. So for any of those services that require a skin test, just ensure that they are ticked just there. Okay, moving towards Christmas, you may want your clients to almost budget a little bit more for their services. Or if you're a beauty therapist, you may be looking at selling packages or courses, or as they're known in shortcuts as series. So we'd be looking at a way to sell series. Now that's a block purchase of the same service. Think of it as like a series, TV series, okay? So it's the same program, just lots of different variations. So we're going to do a series of services, and it's a great way for clients to budget because they pay for them all up front. And then moving forward, it's almost as if every service is then free of charge because they've already paid for them all up front. And it's instant cash injection for the salon as well, or for the business as well. So we're going to look at setting up a series, and we do this on the right-hand side of our navigation bar. So we're going to click onto series. And if you've got any series set up here, you can tweak them. But if you want to set up a brand new series, you'll notice to the bottom left-hand corner, there is a no series section. So we're going to expand this just here for styling. And I'm going to choose ladies cut and finish. And then going to click new. And then you can change the quantity or the name here. So if it was me, I would just add in ×2, just in case you have different tiers of this or anything like that. So we've got ×2 ladies cut and finish. Then we've got the quantity just here. And then we've got the default price just here. And then we've got the sell price. So of course, 2 times 10 gives us £20. Now, if you want to, you can say, well, actually, if they buy 2 of them up front, if they buy 4 of them up front, I'm actually going to give them a little bit of discount. Now, you can type the discount in there. That's perfectly fine. There's no issue with that whatsoever. Or if you're not quite sure, you can leave it as it is. And then just to the right-hand side, say, well, I'm going to give them a 13% discount, or I'm going to give them a 10% discount, whatever. And to the right-hand side, you can add an expiry date in there in months as well. Then to the bottom right-hand corner, we just click Done. And that is how we can sell a series. So that's a great idea moving forward to get those advertised. So you might be thinking, if we do like a package of Botox or blow dries, or it's great if you've got those clients that come in weekly for their blow dry, you can give them a little bit of discount if you see fit to. Excellent stuff. So that's pretty much it for the sort of background side of things there with the configuration. We're now going to move to our appointment diary. So we have just set up a series there. So we're going to look at selling a series to the client. Now, remember, when you sell a series to a client, you have to actually sell it to a client. So at the point of sale screen, when you want to sell a series, just make sure at point of sale, it is not under hashtag walk-in or anything like that. So just make sure we click new sale in the top left, and then you can choose the relevant client. So I'm going to choose James Jones here. And you'll also notice if they have an outstanding client series just here. So I'm going to sell a series, and you can also do this at the point of sale screen as well. When you're checking the client out, you can do that. That's not a problem. So at the point of sale screen, just make sure we've got the client just here. And we're going to select any one of the empty gray sale lines. And like I said, if they're already buying a product, already checking out for a service, you can add this onto the client's bill as well. If you are checking them out for a blow dry and you're about to sell them a series of blow dries, it will not be taken off that service. It will be taken off the ones moving forward. So let's sell them a series. So we're going to sell it to business first and foremost. And then we're just going to click service here. Now in the top left, this is the bit we need to take note of. You will notice there is a box or an option that says series. Please do not try and select it through the normal categories on the left because you are selling a series. Make sure you select it just here. And then we can see we've got my ladies cut and finish just here. And then we click done. And then we just sell it as normal. So we've got a price there of £18 and we just select the payment types as normal. And then the all important bit, finish sale. So then when you book the client in, for example, we've now sold that client a series. And if we go to clients on the left-hand side and search for James, we can see he's got an outstanding client series here. So it takes all of the hard work and all of the guesswork out of your selling series just there. So let's book the client in for a normal appointment. And you'll notice as soon as we go to book that client in, you can see they have an outstanding client series just here. Again, please do not try and book them in on the left-hand side. Just make it nice and easy for yourself. There's the outstanding client series just there. Click done. Then, of course, when we check the client out, it's nice and easy. We're just going to check the client out. And there it is, just there. Nothing needs to be done. It's automatically taken off the client's bill. We can see the series redemption there. And the all-important bit, finish sale. Then, of course, give it a few seconds. When we go back to the client, James Jones just there, we can now see has 1 out of 2 remaining. So it makes life so much easier moving forward if you do want to be selling a series. It's so easy. It takes all of the hard work and the guesswork out. Now, of course, moving forward towards Christmas, I know it's sort of around the corner, but it's kind of not. We can be looking at taking deposits. Now, some of you may have automated deposits set up through your mobile guest apps or your online booking platforms. That's perfectly fine to do. But you may wish to do it if a client is booking over the phone or face-to-face, or maybe they just want to pay for their appointment in advance. This is what we call an account payment, okay? So to do this, it's almost identical to what we just did as selling a series. So let's pretend a client wishes to put money on their account. This can be to pay for their service down the line, or maybe you're utilizing it as a deposit because they're a brand new client on the lead up to Christmas. So again, we're going to go to point of sale and we're going to choose that client in the top left because, of course, we can't add money to a client's account if we haven't chosen that client. So in the top left, we're going to click new sale and I'm going to choose James again. Then all we're going to do is click any one of those empty grey sale lines exactly the same as before. Now at this stage, the money will go to business, although it doesn't matter if you accidentally choose somebody else. And we're going to put money on James's account. So we're just going to say the amount. And we're going to click done. And we're going to choose how he's going to pay. Now, of course, if he's paying over the phone, it's still a card payment. If he's paying face-to-face, it can be card or cash, whichever is applicable. So this is just a standard payment payment we're going to take here. And the all-important bit, we click Finish Sale. Now, of course, when this client wishes to come in and redeem it, they can do. So let's just very quickly book James in. Now, I'm not going to book him in for his blow dry series or his ladies cut and finish series because, of course, that's automated. That's already kind of free of charge for him. So I'm going to say he's booked in for an intense conditioning treatment. So we're just going to check him out as normal. And now we can see right at the top here, this is the money he has on his account. At the top here, he has £5 on his account. So what we're now going to do is redeem that £5. Now, of course, he's not going to pay by card. He's not going to pay by cash. So you've got gift or loyalty or other in the bottom right-hand corner. So all you would need to do is click onto other and then just choose account and then enter the amount just here. Click done. And then the all-important bit, finish sale. And then, of course, give it a few seconds. When we next go back to our client, there's no money on his account at all. All the money has been redeemed. So again, a great way moving forward. If you want to take a bit more manual deposits, this is the way we would be doing it. So then, as a manager, as a salon or in a business, what should we be getting our employees to do? And why should we be getting them to do it? Now, of course, we know they should be keeping track of their diary and everything like that. But one great way for them to be doing that is printing out their day sheet. It stops them hanging around the reception desk, which could be deemed as intimidating, whatever it may be, or just wasting time, whichever way you want to look at it. So at the beginning of the day, we should be getting our day sheets printed out. So at the top of our screen, we should be clicking on our employee profile, and this will expand all of this information just here. So the first thing we should be looking at is clicking onto print. Now what we can do here, we can print our day's appointment page, or down the bottom, I would be printing out print employee client CPC, which will print out our day sheet for that employee, but it will also print out the client's profile, any history they've previously had. So it's a great way to also get those color notes. So at the beginning of the day, as a manager, I would be getting all of these CPCs printed out. Now, if you wish to, you can also tick this box just here in the bottom left-hand corner and print it out via the receipt printer. So maybe you don't want it to come out absolutely huge. You can do that just there. And you can then print out your employee client CPC. Now, also, what I would recommend you do is get your employees to check their KPIs, their key performance indicators. If they are commission-based or target-based, they can do this very quickly by clicking their name at the top and seeing just at the top here, the average service spend per hour and the clients seen. Now, if they're targeted on this, maybe they have a target to see how many clients they can see, the average amount of clients spend expenditure. We should be tracking that all there. And it's very quick and easy to do. Now, employees by default will only be able to see their own KPIs at the top. So you'll notice I can't see anybody else's here. But again, this is all configurable in your security, which if you're watching the video back, we went through in sort of the first 10 to 15 minutes. So that's just employee KPIs. And just do that by clicking on the top and viewing that there. Now, if they want to have a more in-depth look at their KPIs, their key performance indicators, there's a third tab down the bottom here that says performance. Now, when we click onto this, you can see towards the bottom left-hand corner how many services they have performed, how many rebooks, and how much retail sold. You can also see how much service expenditure there was, retail, sundry, and so forth. We can also see the average client spend and the average spend per hour. So again, all of our employees should always be keeping track of this. They should be watching this, making sure they're up to date with their targets and everything like that. You can also change it to be exclusive or inclusive of that to the top right-hand corner. So a great way for our staff to be tracking certain KPIs and targets there as well. Now, also, our managers, if you're a salon that uses color tubes, I appreciate not all of you watching maybe using color tubes or anything like that, or professional stock, If you are using professional stock, maybe you take professional shampoos, you run those through, maybe use color tubes, maybe use other sort of consumables, couch roll, golf tees, everything like that. That's perfectly fine to run through on your shortcut system. Not a problem whatsoever. And the reason we do that is so we can keep track of our professional stock. Now, of course, if you joined me last week on our stock masterclass, you would have seen how we did stock taking. And of course, if you've done a stock take for your color tubes or your products, and then of course you use one on a client, so maybe you did a stock take on all of your color tubes, you do a client, and then of course your stock levels are completely incorrect, and you're going to be doing a stock take every 5 minutes, which then of course isn't possible. So we would be utilizing something called professional stock usage. So to do this, maybe you throw all of your color tubes in a household bin, or maybe if you use any products on a client, keep the box so you can then track it later on. So what we would do is go to point of sale, and then right at the top of our screen, we would click the drop down arrow and choose #business, track professional stock usage. Then at this stage, you can scan all of those color tubes, all of those backwash shampoos, all of those wax pots, all of those glove box, all of those golf ball boxes, golf tees, everything like that. You can scan them all out here if they were used on a client. So essentially they were used for the business or professionally. Now, if you don't have a barcode scanner or the barcode doesn't work, it's not a problem. You can literally just click any one of the empty gray squares, choose business, and then you can start to scan all of those products out. So here's my L'Oreal Professional, and we can then start to scan out all of those products that we used on a client. So I'm just going to add in as many as I can there. So these are all of my products I used professionally. And then we just click done. So you can scan them out, or you can manually do it like I did just there. And then when you're finished, we're going to click finish sale. Now, two things will happen at this stage, ladies and gents. The first thing that will happen is all of those products we just scanned out there, they will be deducted from your stock levels because, of course, they were used professionally. But secondly, you could print out a receipt if you wish to in the bottom right-hand corner. And we then get a list of all of the products that we used over the last couple of days or the last week. You could then potentially use that as your next order. Okay, because you're just replenishing the stock that we used over the last couple of days or the last week. You can also do this if you take a retail product off the shelf and use it professionally. So some of you may not have any professional use hairspray, so you end up taking a retail hairspray off the client to use on a client, or maybe you take those, retail golf tees off the side and you use those professionally as well for your instructors. Now, of course, they're not being sold, but they can now no longer be sold. So we need to ensure the stock levels are correct. So you can do exactly the same. #business at the top, scan that retail product out. So if your employee says, Chris, can I take this hairspray off the shelf to use on my client? Scan it out. Or again, if it doesn't scan, just click onto business, find a product. So I'm going to find a retail product. What have we got? LNAP. Actually, let's use one that we can see has here we go. So let's use this 190 milliliter conditioner. The reason I'm showing you this is you'll notice it has $13.99 because, of course, this is a retail product, but we're not going to sell this, so no money's exchanging hands. Now, because we are using it professionally, you'll notice the product price appears 0 because we are using it professionally. So exactly the same way, click finish sale, and that will then use that professionally, and it will take the product off stock, but it won't affect your end of day, of course, because no money exchanged hands. So coming to the end, we may just overrun ever so slightly, but we're going to look at a couple of reports. So a couple of reports to look at. We would go to tools and then reports. And we're going to go to stock on the left-hand side, and we're going to go down to professional stock usage. And as we can see, a breakdown of professional products sold to the #business client. This is literally what we've just done. So we're going to click view, and you can set yourself a date range if you wish to here, and you can look at specific products just here. But we're going to click onto view, and you can see all of the products here. So you can see I basically used professionally £8,500 worth of products. So why are we keeping an eye on this? Well, of course, it's a great way to see the average expenditure of your professional products used. So I scanned out a lot of professional products there. So it's a great way to see the average sort of usage of your products. So you might then look at it and think, we are spending a lot of money. I'm sorry, no, we're sort of, what's the word? Not spending. We're sort of scanning out £8,500 worth of colour products, which is great because they were obviously used on a client. But does that reflect the revenue for our clients coming and that having colour? Are we charging too much or are we charging not enough? Now, on the flip side of this, it's also a great way to see if we're using the same colour over and over again. We're using the same product over and over again. Is there a trend? Do we need to ensure our stock levels are a little bit higher? And last but not least, if you're using a retail product, so I scanned out this Mythic oil here, was that then a retail product? And then, of course, that's cost us money because that product can now no longer be sold. So if you were on my stock masterclass last week, it is always worth just ensuring your stock levels and your stock prices are absolutely up to date there. So this is a great report we should all be looking at to just see what we're sort of using in the way of professional products. So that's our professional stock usage. Now, another report we should be looking at, especially on the lead up to Christmas, is under business. And that, appointments, under appointments, and is appointment roster analysis. Now, in a couple of weeks' time, we are going to be doing our reporting and KPI masterclass, which will go into these in a lot more detail than what I've got time to do this morning. But just a very quick one, appointment roster analysis. You can set yourself a date range if you need to, but we're just going to keep it for today. I'm just going to click view. And we're going to have a little look on the left-hand side here. I always skip to the employee. So we can see here, this is me, and we can see the blue and red section on the right-hand side. Now, the red section are the hours rostered, which is why earlier I demonstrated how to do a schedule. So the red section is the hours rostered, and the blue section are the hours booked. Now, in an ideal world, we would obviously like to see these two rub shoulders, because then, of course, that would mean we're completely fully booked. Now, you can see down the bottom here, time rostered, 4 hours, hours booked, 3 hours, giving me an efficiency of 75%. So essentially, out of my 4 hours, I was scheduled to work 3 hours, giving me an efficiency of 75%. Now, we tend to say that's really what we would be looking at, around 75%, because it means we're sort of fully booked 75% of the day. So let's just have a little look at someone else. Let's see who else we've got here. So, for example, let's have a little look at Rachel. Now, you'll notice here for Rachel, times rostered. She was rostered to work 9.5 hours for today. And you can see times booked, 8 hours and 45 minutes, giving her an efficiency of 92%, which is fantastic. She's efficient 92%. However, if we backtrack, if we remember, Rachel actually has a day off today. Now, the reason she's 92% efficient is because we scheduled that task, when really, because it's a day off, we should have done tools and schedule. So if we were to look at this later on, we look at Rachel for today and be like, wow, she was pretty much booked up the entire day, which isn't an accurate representation because today was actually a day off. So that is why we always do tools and schedule. So one of our other reports, we're just going to very quickly look. I apologize if we do run over by 5 to 10 minutes here. We're just going to go to tools and reports, and we're going to go to employees, and we're going to scroll down, and we're going to go down to performance summary. Now, as a manager, this is one we should always be looking at, performance summary, how well our staff are performing. So you can set yourself a date range if you wish to. Again, you can choose employees on the left-hand side. I'm just going to have a look at the current month. Now, along the top here, we have these columns: styling, color, treats, extensions, facials, nails, and so forth. So these here are our RPTS categories, our report categories. This is what derives from our services. So if we just very quickly go back to our service setup, these are our report categories just here. So all of our services should be linked to those report categories. Why? So we can then see how many services Rachel, Chris, or Sam has done. So we can then see how many clients they've done and what those services fall under. Let's just zoom in a tiny bit. So do they fall under styling services? Do they fall under color services? Do they fall under treatments? So this is not only a great way to see where our revenue lies in, is it the way in styling, is it the way of color, but also this employee, are they doing more styling services than color services? Are they doing more treatments than gents? It may be you've just taken that staff member on and they said, oh yeah, I do loads of gents cuts and things like that. Well, we can then look at this and we can see that isn't the case. Or maybe they say I do loads of treatments. Again, we can look at this and see that that isn't the case. Now, so we always need to ensure that those services are linked to the report categories, and we do that under service details. If you're watching the video back, we did demonstrate that on there. So performance summary is a great way to see not only how much money they're bringing in, but in the, how are they bringing it in? Is it under services? Is it under retail? So we can see there's the service value there. There's the retail value just there. So a great way to keep track of your revenue for your employees. Now, one last report. I appreciate you may have to run off, but one last report for this morning, client accuracy report. Now, moving forward, at the beginning, we did speak about demographics and, occupations and things like that. But what kind of data do we have on our clients? Some of you may think, I've got loads of email addresses, I've got loads of genders, I've got loads of phone numbers and things like that, which are all fantastic for client marketing and client contact. But how do we know what kind of information we've got? So again, under tools and reports, we're going to go down to clients, and we're just going to expand clients here. And we're going to look at this report here, client profile accuracy. How accurate are our clients' profiles? So we're going to click on to view. And we can see just here, we've got a nice little bar graph. So we can see how many profiles are complete, how many home addresses, postcodes, mobile numbers, and so forth. These are all percentages. So you can see we've got 56 or practically 57% phone numbers, 35% email addresses, and so forth. So looking at this straight away, we can see we don't really have the birth year, the birth month, which if you're doing a birthday campaign, we would need that information. We also looked earlier at our referral methods, such as TikTok and Instagram. You can see here we don't have those referral methods inputted, so we don't know how clients are finding us. Then as we scroll down, you can see it a little bit more literal. Now to the right-hand side, you can see you've got this blue option that says details. So if we click onto details, this will show us the email addresses not specified. Now, whilst there's not a great deal we can do with this information, obviously we can't contact the client and say, we don't have your email. It might just be worth the next time, Mazro's in or Graham's in or Mikey's in or anything like that, just so that we notice you don't have your email address on file. We often do birthday vouchers and marketing campaigns moving forward. It would be great to have your email address on file. And you can add that in there if you need to, and then just cross it off your list. Okay, one more report, a firm favorite of mine. And then if you need to go, I'll let you all go for this one. But one report moving forward, especially on the lead up to Christmas. Value of future appointments. Now, we've all got targets, we've all got overheads, things like that. So a great report to look at is your value of future appointments. And this can be found under appointments of your report section. So again, we've got value of future appointments. This is a great way if you're thinking, do I need to do any marketing, or I've just taken another staff member on, or you just really want to see what the value of your future appointments equate to. So again, we click view. Now, because this is a value of future appointments, it is always worth setting the date range into the future. So let's just do for the next week or so. I don't actually know if I've got anyone booked in, but let's have a little look. So we can see over the next 5 days, straight away, we've got a value of £15.10. I'm not doing great there, £15.10. And then underneath, you can see what it is split between with your employees. So at face value, we can see straight away the value. So you might be thinking, okay, well, I'm looking at the next sort of 20 or 30 days. Are we going to break even? Are we going to cover our overheads? Do I need to do a little bit more marketing? Down here, you can also see what it is split between. So you can see currently the value is just going to be brought in by myself. So you might look at this and think, okay, well, it's split not very evenly between my employees. Okay, let's do a promotion. Let's set up a discount for that particular employee. Let's send out a marketing campaign for that particular employee. And we just keep track of it. But it's a great way to see the value of future appointments, how much money is set to come in the business. Because it's one of those things, sometimes we don't know what we don't know until we know it. Another one of my favorite sayings to say that. But our value of future appointments, and you can print these out and export them if you need to, but it's always worth just keeping track of that. And it's something as a manager, a director, owner, we should always be keeping an eye on there moving forward. So that is it for this morning for our essential management class. Hopefully, if you've got your employees that you think would benefit from our employee setup moving forward, we're going to be going through some day-to-day top tips and tricks, adding in color nodes, using the wait list, filtering and things like that next week. Please feel free to pass those to your employees. And of course, towards the end of the month, we will be doing our business reporting and KPIs, which will be great for owners, directors to really keep track of their finances and just really take a deep dive into their reporting. But thank you ever so much for joining me this morning, ladies and gents. If you do have any questions, please feel free to drop those across to me now. Excellent stuff. Thank you ever so much. Perfect. So any other questions for me this morning, ladies and gents? Okay, perfect. So I think that's it for all of the questions for this morning. Thank you ever so much for joining me this morning. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop those across to me a little bit later on. And if, of course, you do want the recording, just drop me an email for that as well. Hopefully, you'll all be able to join me next week for our Essential Employee Masterclass. But thank you ever so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will speak to you all again soon. Thank you ever so much. Bye-bye.